So one thing that we still have to fix on the Saturn Astra is the poor ground near the left headlight, which is also the ground for our underhood fuse box or electrical center. So my game plan is to, let's remove the fuse box and install a test light, a bright test light, between the positive and this wire that goes to that headlight ground. We'll load the ground and put a voltmeter on it, see how many volts, is on that circuit. It should be 0, So Tesla should light brightly if that's a good ground, and then the voltage drop between the battery and the test light should be 0. It won't be because we have a bad ground. Then we can do the wiggle check and hopefully find this bad ground connection. Alright, so it's just 3 screws here. Now should we disconnect the battery? We could, just so nothing gets fried. That would be a good idea. Out of the way. Okay, so you have to detach that main positive lug, and here's our fuse box. Now we have some connectors here. So if we can figure out which pin is the ground, then should be in good shape. So let me see which pin is ground on these connectors. Alright, so here's the setup with the test lights. From battery positive to the test light, it's looking for a ground. Now if this pin right here finds a ground, like the battery, we get a nice bright 1 amp current. Okay. Now, the voltmeter, as you can see, is showing 13 volts while this side of the test light is not grounded. We're looking for a ground. If we find a ground, obviously we go to 0. Now, this wire here is the headlight ground. So remember we had this hooked up right to the battery negative to give a good ground to the headlight and the fuse box. So now we have that disconnected. We are going to feed the test light into this ground. Let's see if our voltmeter, if the light lights up, and if the voltmeter goes down at all. So, connected. Absolutely no change. That is a completely open circuit. The only reason why we had, 1 volt or something when we turn on the marker lights is because the voltage was backfeeding into the fuse box. Obviously not good. Now the fuse box is removed, there's no other path to ground. Here's our ground distribution. So G101, I think we're going to have a bad splice right here. Before you turn on any of the lights, we're looking for this ground. It wasn't there. It was backfeeding through the fuse box. We removed the fuse box. Now it's just open circuit. So the game plan is to leave the test light hooked up, and one more thing we can do is with the voltmeter we can check which one of these pins on the fuse box is going to be pins 47 and 60 on our diagram. X1, 60, and 47. I just want to make sure that we have good ground at the fuse box when we make this repair. X1 is right over here. If you look at it like this is the fuse box, so when you plop it over, X1 is going to be this connector on the left side. However, we can see that the pins don't really match up all that well. For example, here we have 1, 2, 3 fat ones, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the layout's not very good. So we can't really trust this diagram, but pins 47 and 60 should be grounds. And they should be, again, on the upper left side of this connector. Alright, so at the fuse box, I actually lifted the connector up. Sure enough, we have one brown wire here, and one down here. It's a fatter one. So it's going to be this guy here, and this guy right here. In the same line, we have 12.6, 12.6. That's a bad ground. Now, we can fix this whole debacle by, I see it. See that? That ground is not where service info said it was. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate lugs. Now let's see, if we tighten this guy down, will our test lights light up? Why is that ground loose? It's completely, there we go. Found it. Yes. It's just that loose stud. Amazing. You guys can see that? This nut right here, it's not, the nut's not loose, but the ground wire is very loose on, move that out of the way. There it is. So let's unscrew this, tighten it back down, spray it with some WD-40. We'll get our grounds back, put our fuse box back in, get rid of the jumper wire, put the steering wheel back together in the airbag, and last piece of the puzzle is going to be get that radio to work. So in this case, the repair of the bad ground is going to be very simple. Hopefully I can just unscrew that nut and see what's going on there. See, that stud is pretty rusty. So we can take this ground and at least give it the old sandpaper treatment. See, that stud looks kind of rusty down there, so we'll give it the good old WD-40 squirt. Kind of strange that I don't think it would have loosened up on its own. It was kind of tight, but the terminal wasn't anywhere near tight. I don't know if it was a side effect of part swapping this fuse box or not, but that wire shouldn't have been removed. And it's pretty rusty, so if it was removed, it might have been removed a long time ago. Let's just slap it back on here. It's amazing that even with the stud connected, our test lights still are not lighting. It actually needs to be a physical, see, not lit. I push it, there you go. Let's try to get this nut on here nice and secure. Okay. As soon as I tighten that, those test lights should light right up. Feel it for looseness. Nice and tight. Test lights are bright. The ground is fixed. Let's reinstall everything and take it for another test drive. By the way, voltage drop on the lit test lights from this wire, it's grounded through the headlight harness, is only 100 millivolts. That is good. T50. And our airbag module kind of interesting installation here. It has two clips right here that just press in. But we do need to connect the purple and the yellow. If you can figure out how to do that. And that clips in right there. The yellow. Boom. Well, you don't want it to go boom. Make sure the wires are out of the way. Yeah, the horn works. So let's turn it on and go right into our body and SDM airbag. Ignition's on. Now we had codes for both driver and passenger side, which is very interesting. So let's see what's going on here. Driver's airbag stage 1, passenger airbag stage 1, driver's airbag stage 2, passenger airbag stage 2. Then they have driver's side airbag, passenger side airbag. These are all good. Not buckled. Empty seat, driver's seat position not installed. Then it basically recycles. So my question is this SDM five DTCs, let's clear them out. You still got 5 DTCs, view them. Driver's airbag squib circuit stage 2 low resistance. So 13. Passenger B0020. Driver's airbag squib circuit stage 1 low resistance. And then stage 1 for the passenger. Finally, passenger seatbelt warning telltale circuit low voltage. That's probably this guy. In this case, I don't think we're going to worry about that because I mean, this is the airbag module, and I mean, in this car, the airbags might have been set off, so you need a new module. Perhaps. That's pretty crazy. So that airbag light's not going to go off. I wonder if we can, you know, reprogram it or reset it. Let's see here. Additional functions. Clear deployment record. Sure. So I'm sure we still have our our codes. Those 4 0.1 ohms, are they shorted out or what? Alright, a little 0 to 60 action here. It's not bad. Not a turbo. pretty low. So we still got the airbag light and the locked out display due to the radio. But hey, the car runs and drives, so that was the main customer complaint. We got a check engine light. Let's see what's up with that. Four DTCs. Ambient air temp sensor. Oxygen sensor, heater performance sensor 2, so it ran a check for sensor 2. Exhaust camshaft position system performance. Uh-oh. It was kind of laggy on the test drive. And heater or HO2 sensor performance sensor 2. Interesting. So we'll save those and see what the heck's going on. And look, it went back down to 0 right there. Is it counting something? I have no idea. Well, we're knocking these codes out one by one. The airbags, remember we had 4 circuits that said low resistance or shorted. What are the chances that 4 pairs of wires are shorted one to each other? Slim to none. When you see that, you think shorting bar. The shorting bar at some connector. There's only 2 connectors. One at the module, the other one's at the airbag. Well, the one at the module, these slide connectors can be tricky. It was not plugged in completely all the way, and the shorting bars were actually touching on these 4 pairs of wires here for the driver's and the passenger side airbag. As soon as I plug that in, hey, no more airbag light. And I'll show you guys here airbag schematics. So these 2 go through the clock spring, and the shorting bar is right there. Same for the passenger side airbags. There's no clock spring, obviously. Shorting bars there and there. So let's clear out the DTCs in the airbag module. It'll knock out 4. Clear DTCs. Woohoo! 0 DTCs. I love it. And also, I found a connector behind the dash here that's kind of propped open that lights up all these buttons, and also the indicator for the seat belt and the hazard switch. You can see it kind of glows nice and red. And the power seats, or the heated seats now worked. So a whole bunch of connectors not plugged in properly. I just want to do a full vehicle scan. Just run that, and amazing.